The city below shimmered like a million silent witnesses, each light flickering in rhythm with his heartbeat. Jungkook stood on the balcony of a luxurious penthouse, a glass of wine cradled in his hand, untouched. The wind played with the loose trend of his dark hair as his eyes remained fixed on the endless horizon. 6 months. It had been 6 long months since he stepped into your life. Perfectly tailored, sharply spoken, just another name in a pool of elite candidates for the position of your new secretary. But unlike others, he was handpicked by himself. He took a slow sip of the wine, letting the bitter burn anchor him. You had no idea that your kindness was never truly earned, that his smiles were rehearsed, his gaze crafted with purpose. All of it was part of a script he had written the day he lost her, the woman he was supposed to marry, the one you hid and left to die in the middle of the street. Do you? He had whispered her name like a curse and a prayer when he held her lifeless hand in the hospital. You never stopped to see who you hit, never turned around, you fled, and when he found out, when he traced the license plate and found out it was you, the precious daughter of the most powerful man in the country, he had decided you would suffer, you would beg to be ruined. But tonight your laugh still echoed in his ears, soft and sleepy from hours earlier. You had kissed him like he was the only man who ever mattered, touched him like you trusted him, and the worst part? He was starting to believe it too. Jungkook clenched the glass tighter. He hated this conflict. He had planned everything. Make you fall, make you lose. But somewhere between the stolen glances and midnight conversations, things shifted. Your vulnerability, the way you kept searching for someone to see the real you beneath the silk and diamonds, it shook something in him. While he was busy fighting with his thoughts, two arms slid around his waist from behind, pulling him back into the moment. He froze for a second, lips parting in surprise as a warmth melted into his back. You are cold, you whispered, voice barely above the wind. Come inside. I like it here. He murmured. You hugged him tighter. It's past midnight and you are standing out here like a ghost. Tell me what's going on. He didn't answer. So you tried again. You disappear in your head sometimes, and it's like I can't find you there. He sighed. Some places you don't want to be found. You pulled away just enough to walk in front of him, your arms still around his waist. His eyes met yours under the moonlight. You looked tired. You have been doing that a lot lately. You said softly, what? Pushing me away when I'm this close. His throat tightened. After a pause, you spoke. Do you regret it? Us? He shook his head. You should be the one asking yourself that. Why would I? You smiled faintly, brushing your hand along his jaw. You are the only thing in my life that ever felt like mine. Everyone else just sees the heiress. You see me. That hit him harder than he expected. And what do you see when you look at me? He asked, genuinely curious. He came to ruin you, but after being with you for 6 months, he realized how broken and lonely you were, completely empty from inside until he filled those parts of you. You bit your lip. Someone who scares me. He blinked. Why? Because you make me feel safe. You laughed under your breath, and that's terrifying because if I lose you, I won't have anything left to believe in. He stared at you like he was trying to remember everything about your face before it disappeared forever. You were so painfully genuine. He was supposed to be playing you, but in this moment he was the one being undone. You really love me that much? He asked, quieter now. You nodded. With everything I have. He didn't answer. Instead, his lips met yours, hot, claiming, desperate. He kissed you like it was the last thing holding him to this world. And when you sighed into his mouth, fingers tangling in his hair, he knew. He was losing the war he started. That night you made love again. Slow, deep, tender. You told him you loved him. You told him you wanted to build something real. He said nothing in return, but he held you tighter than he ever had. 2 months later. You sat on the cold marble floor of your penthouse bathroom, the soft hum of the city lights flickering through the floor to ceiling windows, but your world had narrowed to two pink lines. The pregnancy test in your trembling hands blurred as tears welled in your eyes. Positive. You stare at it again, just to be sure you didn't trust your heart, not when it beat this fast, not when it thudded so hard against your ribs it hurt. You were pregnant with his child. A sob caught in your throat, but not from fear. You were happy, genuinely, tearfully happy. Your hand instinctively went to your stomach, your heart overflowing with something you had never felt before, a strange, tender warmth, a beginning, and a hope. You couldn't wait to tell him. You wanted to run to him barefoot if you had to. You had it all planned out in your head already, how he would smile, how he would pull you into his arms, maybe drop to his knees in shock or joy. You would laugh, cry, kiss, and then you would start your little world together, a family you only ever wanted one with him. You stood up quickly, brushing away tears, a giddy laugh escaping your lips as you looked at yourself in the mirror. Your cheeks were flushed, your eyes glowing with something pure joy. You pulled on your soft peach dress, the one he once said made you look like sunlight. You didn't even care about the time, you just had to see him. You grabbed your bag, tucked the test inside gently, and rushed out of the house, your heels clacking like the heartbeat of your happiness. But fate wasn't just waiting at his door, hell was. You reached Jungkook's house just as a car pulled away from the driveway. You slowed your steps when you saw a couple standing at his doorway, an older man with a hard, weathered face and a woman clutching a handkerchief soaked with tears. They weren't his parents. You knew that much. Something in your gut twisted, but you moved closer, carefully, quietly drawn by the voices. You promised you would make her suffer. The man growled, his voice filled with venom. You froze behind the stone wall, heart suddenly in your throat. The woman's voice shook. You said you would make her beg, Jungkook, that she would be on her knees, that you would ruin her. Your breath caught. You still didn't want to believe it. Maybe they were talking about someone else. But Jungkook's words confirmed everything. I know. Jungkook's voice finally responded, calm, low, and distant. I am. She's in love with me. She depends on me. She trusts me more than anyone. Silence, and then her mother's cry. Then why isn't she in prison? Why isn't she paying for what she did to our daughter? Your vision blurred instantly. Zuyu, the name rang in your head like a bell. A woman you tried to forget, a name you dug up quietly on your own weeks ago. You had traced the records, connected the crash, the woman you hid that night, the woman who died, the woman he was supposed to marry. You had stood over her picture and wept in silence, but you never knew she was his. You remember the way you ran that night. After slapping Jackson in front of his guards, after escaping your father's cruel trap of a marriage arrangement, you were dizzy, in pain, your world caving in. You didn't know you hit someone, not until days later. Your father handled everything, buried the case, paid off the press, threatened the police into silence. You had no voice in it. You were sick, broken, crumbling inside, but nothing, not your guilt, your therapy, your silent apologies had prepared you for this, for Jungkook, for this cruel game. Tell me why you won't just hand her over to the police. The father shouted. You have gathered enough photos, notes, timelines. Why wait? I want her to lose everything. Jungkook replied flat and cold, not just her freedom. The test kit in your hand slipped. It hit the pavement with a soft thud. Their voices didn't stop. She deserved to rot in a cell. She killed our daughter and walked free. And now she's what? Living like she's in love? Happy? The mother's bed, you backed away, your soul sheltering with every step. Your knees buckled near the car, but you didn't cry. Not yet. You had to get away. You drove somewhere, anywhere. Everything inside you ached, your stomach churned, your fingers numb on the steering wheel. You were carrying his child, and he was carrying revenge. Back at the house, Jungkook stood in silence as the couple walked away. He didn't offer comfort, he didn't offer lies, only silence. He turned toward the door, ready to shut the night out, when he saw something on the ground, a small plastic stick. His brows furrowed, he bent down, picking it up slowly, confusion blooming in his chest. Two pink lines, his heart stopped. He stared at it as if time itself froze. You must have come here. The stick trembled in his hand. And that was the first time in years Jungkook felt fear. You didn't know how long you had been driving. The lights of the city had disappeared behind you, swallowed by winding roads and silence. Now your car stood parked on the edge of a forgotten bridge. You stepped out barefoot, the cool earth beneath your feet grounding you only slightly, while the rest of your world sheltered inside your chest. Your breathing was shallow, rapid, unstable. The breeze touched your skin like a ghost, but it couldn't chase away the burn behind your eyes. Your fingers clutched your stomach without realizing, your other hand gripping the door frame as if letting go would send you crumbling to the ground. Everything hurt. Everything. You stumbled closer to the river bank. The water looked peaceful, but you weren't. Your voice cracked through the night. It was all a lie. A sob ripped through your throat as the realization tore you again, and you dropped to your knees, no longer able to hold yourself up. He was pretending the entire time. Your voice was barely audible, yet your sobs echoed through the stillness like shattered glass. The way he used to hold your face in his hands, the way he used to say your name like it meant something, the way he whispered promises against your lips, touched you like you were sacred, like you were real. All of it. Your body heaved as you sobbed into your hands, the pain clawing up your stomach to your chest, making it impossible to breathe. Your vision blurred, but you could still see the memory of his face, soft, gentle, loving, all of it fake. He loved you only enough to destroy you. I trusted you. Your voice cracked as you gasped. I gave you everything. You had never let anyone in like that. Not your father, not Jackson, not a single soul in your guarded, lonely life. But you gave it all to him and he threw it back in your face as part of his revenge. Your hands slipped down your body, trembling as they touched your lower belly. You weren't just crying for yourself anymore. You were crying for the small, innocent life now growing inside you. His life, your child. A sob broke free from your chest. Were you really that cruel, Jungkook? Were your hatred so deep you had to destroy the one thing that made me feel human? You dropped your head, forehead pressing into the ground as the sobs poured out, your body no longer your own, but just a vessel of agony. Then a sound, footsteps, shoes crunching gravel. Careful and hesitant, you froze, your muscles tensing. You didn't want anyone to see you like this. Not now, not ever. Your breathing stilled. It's really you. Your head snapped toward the sound, eyes wide, heart lurching in panic. Standing just a few feet away, half shadowed by the trees and moonlight, was him, Jackson Wong. You stumbled backward, scrambling to your feet. What are you doing here? His hands raised slowly, palms out like you were a sacred animal about to bolt. Easy, I'm not here to hurt you. Your chest heaved. The last time you saw him, you had slapped him across the face and ran from the engagement your father forced from. The world Jackson represented. He was power, he was control, he was your cage. Or so you had thought. Did my father send you? You hissed. Are you here to drag me back to him? No, I haven't spoken to your father in months. You stared at him, struggling to reconcile this calm, steady version of Jackson with the man who had once stood beside your father, representing the future you were ready to burn down. He took a step closer. Your phone is off. Your friends haven't seen you. I cut all the ties with your father, and so did he after what happened. And Now I find you crying near a river at midnight. You turn away, wiping your face furiously. I didn't want anyone to see me like this. You whispered. Jackson walked a little closer, but gave you space. His eyes flicked toward your trembling hand still resting on your stomach. He noticed. You are not okay, he said. You let out a laugh, shaky and empty. That's an understatement. He sat down beside you in silence, not too close, just there. I heard things, rumors. Someone is being following you, watching something about a man you are living with. Your secretary? Your lips pressed together and the ache returned tenfold. I loved him. You didn't need to explain who Jackson knew. I thought I finally had something that was mine. You choked out. Someone who didn't care about my name, who saw me, but it was just a game. I was just part of his revenge. Jackson stayed quiet for a long moment and then he spoke. He's the one from that accident, isn't he? Your eyes widened. You looked at him shocked. How did you? I dug into it. After we broke the engagement, after you vanished, your father buried everything. But I wanted to know what pushed you so far that night. You stayed quiet. I never hated you, Jackson whispered. I just wanted you to be free, even if that meant you leaving me. I just didn't know your freedom would cost you this much. And then something inside you cracked open. You let your head fall into his shoulder just for a moment and cried like a child. He lied to me. He used me. Every kiss, every word was fake. He wanted revenge and I. Your voice broke. I gave him everything. Your voice dropped to a whisper, and now I'm carrying his child. Jackson's head dropped slightly, his breath catching in his throat. You are. You just nodded, tears spilling down again. Jackson's voice was strained when he finally spoke, and then you found out who he really was. You nodded, and who you were to him. He didn't know the man, but he didn't need to. He saw the damage, felt it in your broken breath, and it made his chest ache in ways he didn't expect. After a long pause, he asked, do you want to go back? You looked at him, eyes wide and trembling. Back where? You whispered to him. You didn't answer, you couldn't, not because you didn't know, but because you didn't trust yourself with the truth. Jackson didn't move, he didn't speak, he just stayed still while your pain soaked through his expensive suit. And for the first time since that cruel night, you weren't alone. The pregnancy test sat in Jungkook's hand like a curse etched in pink. Two lines positive. It stared back at him like it had every right to, like it knew what he didn't, what he couldn't. His fingers trembled, but he didn't drop it. He couldn't. His body stood in the dim corridor of the house that still smelled like you. Shampoo, lavender, lotion, soft laughter lingering in the walls. But the silence had become unbearable now because you were gone. He didn't even hear the front door when you left. Didn't know you had returned until he found the text lying in the pavement, like a fragile secret you hadn't yet figured out how to tell him. He ran a hand through his hair, swallowing back the scream that clawed in his throat. His knees buckled beneath him as he slid down against the wall, the stick still clutched between pale fingers. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. He wasn't supposed to fall for you. He wasn't supposed to forget the revenge. He wasn't supposed to look at you like you were the only goddamn thing in this world that made sense. But then you smiled one too many times. You laughed too freely in the morning light. You held him like you meant it, and he got lost, hopelessly. The plan was to destroy you, make you bleed the way his family bled, the way he bled. But somehow, somewhere between the anger and the ache, he started to see you, really see you, not the heiress, not the woman in the headlines, not the criminal his mind painted you to be, just you. And now he knew you were never the villain, you were just another casualty. And now you were carrying his child. The thought made his throat tighten until he was gasping. You must have found it, you must have heard. All of it laid bare by Zuyu's parents, not even with mercy but with glee. And then what? You took the test alone in that bathroom, hand shaking, heart full of love, only to hear that it was never real, only to learn that he was the one person who should have protected you, and he was the one who ruined you. He stood on shaky legs, every inch of him screaming in regret. There was no time to think, he needed to find you. He searched for you like a man who had forgotten how to live without you. First stop, your apartment, empty, cold, lights off like no one had been there in days. He tried the door, banged on it, called your name, nothing. Your phone switched off. He tried again and again until his call log was filled with your names. He drove for hours. The streets blurred into one another, cafes you liked, that old museum you dragged him to because quiet ruins are better company than loud people. The hill where you once said the stars looked honest, you were nowhere. Only your absence answered him. He called your stylist, your lawyer, even someone from your old press team. She hasn't contacted any of us, your stylist said, voice shaking. What's going on, Jungkook? Why are you looking for her like she's missing? Because she is, he wanted to scream, not from the world, but from me. He parked in some alley by dawn, forehead pressed to the steering wheel, trying to remember the exact moment he crossed that invisible line, the moment revenge turned into devotion. He didn't know any more. Maybe it was the night you fell asleep on his shoulder, whispering dreams you thought he would laugh at. Maybe it was when you cried over your past and he realized he had never hated you, just the version of you someone else created. Maybe it was when he watched you dance barefoot in his living room, humming a song you didn't know the words to, lighting up the only place that had ever felt safe. And the guilt was unbearable. He typed, please don't shut me out, let me explain. Delivered but not read. I didn't plan for this, I didn't plan for you. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but our child does. Silence, the kind that cracks ribs. You sat on a river bank, wrapped in a thick coat that didn't belong to you. Jackson's. He had stayed all night, not asking, not pushing, just there. You stared at the water. It was quiet, reflective, unlike your soul, which still roared with pain. Jackson finally broke the silence. Do you want to go back? You didn't answer for a long time, then a whisper. I don't know if I can. He nodded. But do you want to? Tears prickled again. You hated how fast they came now. I hate him, you murmured, but I love him more. Jackson's jaw clenched. I loved you once too, he said softly, but not like that. You met his eyes, and you both understood. There are loves that break you, and loves that stay even when they shouldn't.